I am here to tell you a story about a goat. I want to introduce you all to a friend of mine. His name is Trevor. Trevor came into my life at a wonderfully hectic time last year, just between renovating my home and marrying my beautiful partner. He was a frightened little feral cashmere with skinny legs and soulful eyes. I took him in, and in the process, I became his mum. Trevor lives out the front of my studio on the farm. I feed him every day, and I talk to him way more than I'm willing to admit. He gets a little taller every day, and I grow a little wider. Our lives have become reflections of each other. Now, I'm not a pet guy at all, so I consider him a friend. A meeting of minds, perhaps. Trevor is a ruminant. He's a herd animal. So he doesn't demand affection like a squirming carnivore, like cats and dogs. But if he feels your companionship, then he will reward you with his. Trevor does not have any hobbies. Apart from eating flowers and anything that drops from the washing line. But he does have a couple of jobs, and he takes these jobs very, very seriously. He watches me. He watches everything I do with the utmost optimism. He watches me coming and going, and he always seems to know exactly where to find me. And he climbs things. If it is within his reach, Trevor will climb it. Elevation is aspiration for this guy. And if it can be climbed, it can be jumped off. There are flashes of equestrian grace in this little cloud of fluff. Other than that, he sits around a lot. He belches surprisingly often, and he likes to sniff things. He chews my shoelaces, my pockets, my elbows, whatever he can get away with. He chased me up the driveway until his leg got very tired and he complained loudly. We met a soggy rainbow, and he was very pleased. I presented him with a brand new collar with glow-in-the-dark studs, and he was happy. I introduced him to Sunday, the calf. He was not happy. But they worked it out eventually. In summer, I shampooed him, and his coat was shiny blonde. In autumn, he discovered the leaf pile, a wonderful substance that he could eat, sleep in, and poop on, all at the same time. The ultimate accessory for a busy goat. In winter, he grew extra fluffy, so I brushed him out, just to keep him feeling silky. In spring, he just relaxed. But there's something that none of these pictures will show you, and that's the limits of Trevor's world. You see, most of the time, Trevor is tethered by 8 meters of chain to a star picket. It's an unfortunate necessity for a curious goat on a farm full of things to sniff, climb, or eat. And if he were to wander too far, he would encounter poisonous plants, stomping horses, venomous snakes, angry dogs, or even neighbours with guns. The countryside is not always a friendly place for a goat without a herd. But there's this thing that he does. No matter where I put him, he always seems to end up at the very end of his tether. Usually, as close to me as he can get, but always at the very end. He'll be sitting there awkwardly, tether pulled taut, sniffing, chewing, pooping, with his little tail in the air, always at the very end of his tether. After months of this, I had to ask him, Trevor, buddy, why is it that you are always at the very end of your tether? It looks super uncomfortable, and you've got about 200 square meters to run around in. Everything went quiet. The birds, the cows, even the frogs seemed to be listening in. Trevor sighed. He looked up at me and said, Mum, I was born here, just up the driveway. My real mother was killed by pampered dogs in front of my eyes, and I was enslaved, degraded, neutered, and held alone. I've lost my language, and I've forgotten my customs, taken far too young to keep the memories alive. My world is a length of chain floating on your whim. I watch you, waiting to see the flicker of guilt in your eyes. And I climb things, anything to rid my hooves of this dirt prison, even for a moment. After all this time, you want to know why I choose to spend my days at the very end of this chain? I'll tell you why. You staked me here, robbed of all agency except the will to find the limits of my world. And I found them. I choose to stand here, as close to freedom as I can possibly reach, straining against your dominion. My neck may be in bondage, traced in steel links to a spike driven deep in the ground. But from here, my tail feels the soft breeze of freedom. And whenever I choose, I shit on your freedom. I was stunned. It was so quiet. Oh my God. A talking goat?